Hello, my name is Roman and this DVD is going to be dedicated to Scandinavian defense, or sometimes we call it center counter. Now, I got multiple requests of doing some typical games played by me, and I did play Scandinavian defense uh, very frequently in the years I played chess, competitive chess. I played it on all kinds of levels against grandmasters, against little lower rated players, and I had tremendous success. The line I'm talking about is e4 d5, and on ed I adopted continuation of knight f6, and with considerable success. Um, Knight f6 is games mostly we're gonna be discussing on this DVD, and I have for you some material with queen takes d5, and after knight c3, queen a5 move. I know today is a big chapter. Queen d6 becomes increasingly popular, but I don't want to discuss this on this DVD because it's a very big chapter and there are several ways to play for white. But right now, what I want to discuss is old-fashioned way of playing Scandinavian, which is partially queen takes d5 and mostly knight f6. So let's start looking at some games. I'm gonna mostly look at my own games because they are very typical for this opening and what you can get in this kind of positions. So let's look at the first game played by me against Colombian Grandmaster Alonso Zapata. It was played in 1980. Oh, ED knight f6, d4, knight takes d5, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop e2. It's not very competitive way to play against this opening, but it's very reliable. When I lived in the Soviet Union before even I immigrated from there in 1972-73, I played this opening same with bishop e2 move against the rising star then and almost one of the top players in the world at that point, Anatoly Karpov. And I was very successful too. And that game kind of inspired me to play this opening more and more frequently. So after bishop e2, knight c6, castle was played. Now, before we discuss this castle, I gotta tell you that there is very interesting and very competitive play, c4, knight b6, d5. And I have some games for you played with this variation. And this is actually very exciting position happens after that. But not in this game. White chose to castle, e6, c4, knight b6, and bishop e3. Now black gets very, very comfortable position after bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, knight takes c4, queen a4, knight b6, bishop takes c6, pawn takes c6, queen takes c6, queen d7, rook c1. Well, possibility is queen e4, but black still has very comfortable position by playing c6, followed by bishop e7 or bishop d6 and castling. Bishop on e3 is not very active, which determines, I think, its position slight advantage for black. Rook c1 was played, and now queen takes c6. Rook takes c6 and king d7 and rook to c2. Now let's summarize the results of the opening. Black solved any problem they might have had. They have comfortable potential square on d5. Their king is very well placed on a closed vertical and ready for the endgame. I think, in my opinion, black is better here. Bishop b4 was played. White didn't want to play knight c3 and to be left with a dark square bishop against a knight after bishop takes c3. For example, here now, bishop takes c3 is very strong, and if rook takes, knight on d5 will be permanent, and if pawn takes, then after knight c4, black has maybe decisive advantage, because they are first to get the b file on rook b1, rook b8, and white is in trouble on rook c1, rook b6. Black has very good position. So for this reason, they played a3 first. Now bishop d6, knight c3. Purpose of bishop b4 was to provoke the a3 move. And the reason we provoked the a3 move is because now after rook hb8, rook ac1, a5, white will have difficulties playing b3, and they have kind of backwards b2 pawn. a5, rook d1, c6, rook dc1, rook a6, bishop g5, a4. Now you see the clear weakness on b2. a4, bishop h4, knight d5, knight d1, pawn f5 to prevent exchange of bishops after bishop g3. On bishop g3 will be simply f4, and after f5, f3, rook b3, you see black already has clear advantage. So game continued another 40 moves, and I managed to win, but this is not already, it's clear that black has an advantage, and to see the whole game is does not reflect analysis of the center counter as an opening. This game was played in the New York Open tournament in 1987 against Swedish Grandmaster Ferdinand Ellers. After e4, d5, ed knight f6, d4, knight takes d5, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop e2, knight c6, c4, knight b6, and here he played d5. This is, as I already mentioned in a previous game, is very competitive moves, gets very sharp positions. That was thoroughly analyzed by me before, of course, the games, before I ever. You cannot allow d5 move without being properly prepared. So after bishop takes f3, my opponent chose bishop takes f3. In a game against Judith Polgar, she played g takes f. And we're going to see another game with g takes f played by Anand against Kamsky. But we're going to get to this a little later. So bishop takes f3, knight e5, bishop e2, and here c6 move. Now c6 move, the idea is to threaten knight takes c4, which was not possible on a previous move because black simply loses a piece. Queen check, taking the knight on c4. So black must prepare it. Now they are kind of simultaneously attacking d5 pawn and c4 pawn. Queen d4 is by far the best option. Knight g6, knight c3, e5. You see the en passant taking is not possible because queen is hanging, and after e5, queen e4, c takes d, c takes d, bishop d6, and black wants to comfortably finish development, castle, and after f5, they would have very, very good position. Bishop b5 check, knight d7, castle on both sides, and now black is ready to play f5, followed by e4, getting really very strong and dangerous position. Queen f5 is a logical move, attacking the knight and also stopping f5. But that's not going to be for long, because after queen f5, knight c5 was played, and on b4, simply knight a6. Now black is attacking b4 pawn, which has to be protected, and now they're gaining tempo for kicking the queen out, finally, from f5, and after knight e7, queen h3, knight c7 also. Now I'm threatening to take the bishop on b5 and also possibly the pawn on d5, bishop d3, attacking the h7 pawn, f5, and on bishop g5, e4. Black has already an advantage. Bishop c4, h6. We want to clear the position of the g5 bishop. Bishop d2 was played, knight g6. It's clear that black has an advantage because they have potential knight e5 and pushing the pawns, creating very strong threats to white's king. Knight g6 here, white felt that they have quickly to prevent further advancement for black. They played f3, e takes f, and now if rook takes f3 or queen takes f3, black goes knight e5, attacking the bishop on c4, and further on queen h4, having very, very dangerous attack. So g takes f was played, and now white's position completely falls apart. Queen f6, creating queen d4 check threat, and after queen f6, it is very, very hard to find any kind of defense for white. Knight e2, simply stopping queen d4, and after knight e2, very strong move b5. Why b5 is so strong? Because after b5, bishop b3 would lose a piece, queen b2 attacking both bishops. So white played bishop c3, attacking the queen, and now very powerful move knight f4 practically ends the game, because if white takes queen, then black is going to take the queen and black is going to end up with extra piece because it's in check, and then rook takes one bishop, and now when white takes the knight, then pawn takes second bishop, and white is simply a piece down, and there is no defense. After knight f4, my opponent played one more move, queen g3, and now after very simple tactical shot, b takes c, simply eliminating bishop, the protector of e2 knight. And now if white takes the queen, after knight takes e2, and then taking the queen on g3, white suffered severe losses of material. And after b takes c, there is no other move, as you can tell. No matter what white plays, they're going to be a piece down. For example, knight takes f4, queen takes e3, simply losing a piece, and queen takes f4. Also, bishop takes f4 wins a piece, because on bishop takes f6 check, simply in between move bishop e3 check, taking the bishop on f6 on the next move, having an extra piece, and easily won position. So I just want to mention that consequences after queen d4, which I had several times, after d5, has to be very carefully analyzed. Well, there are two very strong moves, bishop takes f3 and also gf, and they are like highlights of this sharp variation of Scandinavian. Now let's move to the next game. Next game was played, there's very interesting story before I show you the next game. Next game was played between Anand and Kamsky in the World Championship candidates match in 1994. And in 1994, I was Gata Kamsky's second, and this was already playoff game, which means the match of 8-game match ended in a draw, and there was supposed to be 2 playoff games. And well, I remember we had a day off, and we spent completely on Scandinavian, and I insisted that Mr. Kamsky played Scandinavian, although he has never played it before. And it's very difficult in a sharp variations there for white to do something productive and get good results without proper preparation. And since this opening was going to be a clear surprise for Anand, So he did not handle it correctly and quickly got inferior position, and black went on to win the game and the match. Well, e4, d5, you will see the position we just discussed. Knight f6, d4, knight d5, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop e2, knight c6, c4, knight b6, d5, bishop takes f3, and there is a gf move. That's what was played, and this is very sharp move. After knight e5, f4, knight to d7. This is exactly, we prepared that, and this is exactly following my game against Judy Polgar that I'm going to show you right after this. And where I played knight d7, and I got big advantage right in the opening. But the difference that's exactly how my game went with Polgar, and the correct move was e6 here. e6 move gives black very good position. They develop bishop quickly, and that's how you take advantage against broken up white pawn structure. However, Kamsky went wrong, and it's very difficult to learn a big opening in one day. Kamsky went c6. He must have forgotten what we prepared, but he knew the ideas. c6 is the same idea, but it's not nearly as strong as e6 would have been. D takes c, b takes c, bishop e3, e6, queen c2, knight f6, bishop d3, queen c7, white castled, long, bishop e7, and this is actually interesting position. White's goal, since they have two bishops, is to open the position somehow, which they couldn't do because it's not that easy. Well, a move like f5, most likely white will face with e5 move. And knight e4 was played. And after knight e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, and very powerful move, f5, very strong, bishop g2, and now castling. Now you see white will never be able to open position on the king side and attack black's king. Black's bishop is going to f6, and they're going to have very powerful piece with potentials on attack against white king. Black has already a comfortable position. Rook d3, rook a b8, rook h d1, and c5. And this is the typical position where you see one side has two bishops, but they cannot function fully, because bishop on g2 is not a bad bishop, but it's kind of shooting blanks. There is nothing on this diagonal. Black's bishop, however, will be a lot more powerful on f6, and white has no penetration square on the d file where they have doubled rooks. Position is preferable for black, in my opinion. So after c5, h3 was played, rook fd8. Now, if all pieces come off the board, you will see the weaknesses like c4, f4, f2, and possibly h3. After, if you exchange all pieces, this h3 pawn may become a target. Rook fd8, b3, knight d7, queen b2, knight f8, knight is going to g6. There is a weakness. Queen e5, rook d to c8, queen takes c7, rook takes c7, king c2, king f7. This position is a big advantage for black. The reason why it's advantage is because if black plays for next 100 moves, knight g6, knight f8, or rook c8 and rook b8, they have a draw. That means white can make no progress at all. They don't have any, without making some progress with your pawns, there's nothing can be done because pieces just don't penetrate anywhere. And pawns, white has no pawns to move. A3 and b4, it's like mission impossible. It is mission impossible because after a5, it will never happen. And the king side pawns are completely frozen. Black is much better here. a4 and a5 was played. And bishop d2, rook a7. Now this is very instructive, and the game went on like almost 80 moves, and we are on the move 28. But this, if we display this game to the end, you can find this game in your database because it was played in a World Championship Candidates match 1994. It's a first playoff games. That will defeat the purpose if we do that, because it's gonna, but if you are really interested in looking how Garagamsky went on winning this game, you can go on and you can find this game. And also although game did continue to 75 moves, the reason why it went that far, because Anand could have resigned it way earlier, but that was sudden death time control, and he tried to take advantage of shortage on time for Kamsky, but Kamsky overcome the difficulties and won this game. In this position, we're gonna stop. Black has very big advantage. Here's the game, my game against Judith Polgar, played in 1989, e4, d5. This was developed just like Anand's game against Kamsky, d4, knight takes d5, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop e2, knight c6, c4, knight b6, d5, bishop takes f3, gf, knight e5, f4, knight e d7. But Polgar played b3. Same thing would have happened on knight c3. After b3, I played e6. Now de, bishop b4 check, bishop d2, bishop takes d2, queen takes d2, f takes e. In this position, black has clear advantage. White doesn't have safe side to castle, and black wants to go queen f6 and castle either side, and white has terrible pawn structure that is not justified by the position. So what happened after bishop h5 check, g6, bishop f3, queen f6, queen c3 was played, and now simply castling long, queen takes f6, knight takes f6. In my opinion, black is absolutely winning. Well, I did not play this game well from here on, and white managed to draw. After king e2, I made a hyperactive move, e5. I thought after I open position, it's going to be slam dunk, and I won't have to think even. That's how easily we'll be winning. However, a better move was rook d4, attacking the f4 pawn, and after king e3, rook h to d8, black has easily won position. Now, we can summarize here the result of the opening. It was total disaster for white. And again, very well played opening by black, by me. Well, most of it was prepared, if not all of it. And what happened in the game, let me show you quickly. e5, it's a mistake. fe, rook h e8, so rook d1. What happened, this move I overlooked. And now, after we take on e5, white got rid of their terrible weakness, the pawn on f4. I didn't take on f5, I went knight d7, and I wanted to take on e5 with a knight, which is what happened. Knight c3, knight takes c5, rook takes d8, rook takes d8, knight e4, and rook f8, knight takes f6, rook takes f6, bishop e4, c6, and what happened from decisive advantage with countless weaknesses for white, decisive advantage for black, they redeemed to symbolic advantage. So I couldn't win this position. I tried hard, and game ended in a draw. Well, this was the result. The result of the opening again was absolutely great for black, just like result of the opening in Anand Kamsky game.